Police in the UK are investigating reports of women being drugged with needles.
These incidents are distinctly different from anything we have seen previously.
The most traumatic night of my life to date.
Reported blacking out after feeling scratching sensations, or waking up after blacking out and finding what they think are puncture wounds.
I threw up about 16 times.
But I was like foaming from my mouth.
Perpetrators inject their victims with a syringe that contains substances similar to what's in roofies.
A lot of people say not enough is being done about the issue of spiking.
It's actually horrible because of spiking.
People are terrified to go to their favourite bars and clubs.
Stay safe, please. Never go anywhere alone.
Injected with needles in nightclubs across the country, describing blackouts and memory loss.
All the reports should be taken very seriously and investigated.
Men just assuming that they have a right to your body, and it's just so normalised, it's sickening.
It's just disgusting, to be honest, and I don't get why sick people would do that.
Imagine thinking about your survival on a night out.
Being alone on a night out could potentially be the last time you lived.
You know, like if you go to this club, you should expect to be sexually assaulted. Like that shouldn't be any expectation anywhere.
Couldn't breathe because I just kept throwing up like out of my nose and mouth and everything.
You know, people who spike other people can just so easily like blend back into a crowd.
A new kind of assault called needle spiking.
Spiking.
So it was a uni event. It was really exciting for me because I was like, this is my first event. So I was really excited for it, to meet new people. Me and my friends headed to Magic Garden where we had prees. And I remember I had 1 glass of Prosecco and I had 2 cocktails before it was time to head to Unit 13. We all walked as a group from Magic Garden to Unit 13. And then when we got in there, me and my friends went straight to the bar. We got a drink. I got a double vodka, orange, and I don't remember anything else after that. This is according to my friend. We went to the dance floor. Apparently we went into the toilets. I was flopping around everywhere, and so was my other friend who got spiked. There was 3 of us. My friend who didn't get spiked, she took my other friend into the emergency room and asked the bouncers for help, and they locked her in the medical room and barred her from Unit 13 because she was making things up. I found myself outside of the club, and I just remember feeling so ill, and I just wanted to go home. And all I could think about was my mum. I don't know why. I don't remember much from the night, but from the little flashbacks I do remember, all I remember is thinking about is my mum. And I think I knew that she would be there because like she's always there. And I think it kind of just really put it in perspective of like when you think you're so big and like grown up and stuff, and then when you go through something like that, it makes you feel so small and so weak and young, and all you want is like your mum. So I knew that my mum would be there, and I knew that I could like rely on her, and I knew that I would contact her before even considering contacting the ambulance or contacting the police. I don't know what I would have done without her, honestly.
I went to a daytime festival. I was not drunk. Also, like, I'm very like self-aware. When I'm drunk, I still know what I'm doing and that, but it was like, everything was fine. And then when my friend started to DJ, I got to like the front of the crowd, and like they had like the silver railings separating you from like the stage. I was like dancing and I was holding on to the railings in front of me. And then my friends turned around to get a photo taken. So then I was like by myself for a bit, but I didn't feel anything at the time. But then I started to realise that like I was really holding on to the railings, like holding myself up, and then it felt like my back had like gone like floppy. I literally just couldn't hold myself up, and I ended up like having to like go tell my friend because it got really bad that I just like couldn't, like literally lost all sensation of like holding myself up. I couldn't, it just happened so quickly, and I was really confused and I was scared because I didn't understand what was going on. And then I got like carried out of the crowd and everyone was staring, and I was like mortified because I couldn't understand what had happened or how it had happened either, because it was just so quick. And I was like with a group of people and I just didn't even think twice that it could have been that. And then they had like paramedics there, but they didn't do anything. They literally were like, you're just too drunk, you need to go home. But this happened like within the space of like 5 minutes. I went from being absolutely fine to like having no control of like my body or anything.
I remember waking up the next day and I felt insanely ill, not just hungover, I was ill. I couldn't move, I could hardly move. I just remember thinking I'm gonna throw up instantly. And I crawled to the toilet because I couldn't walk. And I threw up in the toilet and my sick was black. Then as the day went on, I pretty much slept the whole day. My parents were pretty worried about me. I messaged my friends who I was out with. She told me that she'd been spiked and that she went to the hospital. And she told me and my other friend to check our arms. And this was literally right as the needle spiking was starting. So it was a bit scary. And I checked my arm, and on my left elbow, just above here, I had a pinprick, like a red pinprick. And then I completely started freaking out, because initially I was like, oh my God, I've been spiked. And then I was like, whatever I was spiked with could still be in my system.
A few like days went past, well, like a day or two, but I couldn't move from my bed. I literally was like, felt so depressed, really like lethargic, just really drained. And I couldn't move, I didn't want to speak to anyone. I couldn't do anything. I was like mentally feeling like in my worst place. And then I was like, right, something's still not right. And then I woke up the next morning, and then on my wrist, there was like this bruise with like 3 different like holes in it. Like they were like red like holes, looking like I'd been injected basically. And it was like a really big bruise. I was like, how did I not notice this? So I went to call the doctors, and they said you should go to A&E straight away. So I went to A&E, and my friend came with me, but it was like a 7-hour queue, and I was just not prepared to do that. So I called the doctors again, and luckily they see me the next day, and they just like took one look at it and was like, yeah, you've been injected. So then then it all kind of sank in. I was in shock. I think I kind of chose to like numb it out and was in disbelief, like thinking that no, that didn't happen. I don't really know how I felt. Like I just was really overwhelmed. I was like very shocked. It took a while to sink in, and like because I was already mentally like feeling really like drained, it just obviously didn't help the situation. However, I did feel like quite validated in like how I was feeling, because I was like, okay, I knew that there was something up. I wasn't too drunk, and it wasn't like me. I knew something had happened, and like I will never forget that feeling of when it happened, and I will know now straight away if that ever happens again.
Police came and saw me whilst I was in the hospital, and she also took some DNA swabs of my hair, inside of my mouth, and of my urine. And then the next couple of weeks, I didn't leave my house. I didn't leave my house for 3 weeks afterwards. I felt like I was just having a constant panic attack. My anxiety levels were just through the roof. I couldn't leave my house. I missed like 2 months of uni, basically. I got put in therapy, both with uni and through the NHS. You know when you hit your elbow on like a table or something, you get that funny feeling? I had that in my arm for like a month constantly after it happened. I was really ill physically for about a week after it. I was just so tired. I slept all the time. I was having really bad nightmares, like flashbacks. The police actually informed me that they wanted me to get tested for HIV and to get hepatitis B injections. So the Hep B injections, I had to have 3 installments. For HIV, I had to get a blood test. I think it was once every 12 weeks, and that was also in 3 installments. So that was really just a drag, to be honest. So many needles. And obviously being told that I've got to be tested for HIV and then someone saying they know somebody who's got HIV from the spiking, it really, really scared me. And I had a panic attack during one of my seminars at uni actually. And it was really scary, and I was like, oh, like this is it, like, I've got it. Like I said, I kind of convinced myself, and I was looking up at the symptoms and everything, and because everyone was just saying all of this stuff, and it's really, really scary. And for other people, it's just like, it's like, oh my God, like to add to the drama of it, of like when the spiking gets brought up, but like it's actually really, really detrimental and scary to someone, and like adds to someone's trauma like a lot. Yeah, it was really scary.
I'm really cautious now. When I go out, I'm like really anxious, and I just I'm not really into going out anymore. I'd rather just be with my friends at a house instead of going out. But I didn't want to let that stop me from going out either, because that's the worst part about it. You don't want to let them, whoever did it, or what their intentions were on doing it either, you don't want to let them get into your head. But now we are all so cautious, and the only thing is it's not like getting spiked in a drink where you can cover your hand. Like, this can literally happen at any point. You just got to be really careful.
Scary to think about the intentions of these people that did this to her. Like, what are the intentions of these men that do these things? Do they just want to make girls have a bad night just because they can? It's a power trip, and it's frustrating. Or do they have intentions to, maybe catch the girl vulnerable and away from her friends for a second in this state of mind where she can't fend for herself, and, do God knows what with her after. And it's just terrifying that all these girls that are survivors, some really sadly aren't survivors, but the girls that are survivors will be haunted with the what ifs.
The first night I went out again after that, and I had a panic attack in the club because I was really scared. Because it was Halloween, I was wearing like long gloves, so they were covering my arms, but I still panicked and I had to go home. And then the next couple of times I went clubbing after that, I wore long sleeves religiously, did not go short-sleeved.
Wearing a jacket in a club makes me anyway feel a bit more like safer and secure, but obviously it's not completely viable when it's a really hot and sweaty place. But I don't really tend to go to them places anymore anyway. It's really sad because I can't really fully enjoy my nights now because you're just so paranoid about what's going on around me. It's pretty much out of your control. I don't want to let it ruin like my time. Like, I always loved going out and that, and I don't want to let that affect me or let whoever did this affect me as well, because like, why let them win?
It's disgusting, and it's disgusting that it's so normalised and girls have to go out and know that this is a possible reality for them every night, but just almost prepare themselves for it, which is a really sad reality. But things I've personally experienced are unsolicited groping, catcalling, men just assuming that they have a right to your body.
There's times, I know like every girl has gone through this, where you feel like there's like maybe a lot of guys in the club or whatever, and you're one of the only girls, and like you feel surrounded, almost like it's almost like predatory in a way, which is horrible. You enjoy the night less because you're worrying about your own safety, which is horrible. You're worrying about, I don't know, could I be spiked? Could someone try and take me home? Which is awful. It actually is common. It's obviously the question's like, have you ever felt a time? Yeah, most times, like pretty much every time. There's so little, like there's so much we have to think about.
Making sure you're never alone on a night out.
Always covering your drink.
It's like you would never like leave a girl in a club by herself.
When you go to like a bar, go with someone.
Buying drinks together.
When you're walking home, having your keys in your hand.
If we get an Uber, like let's share it, let's go home together.
Making each other guard each other's drinks.
You're just always on edge.
You're constantly looking out for other girls.
Telling people your exact location, things.
Making sure we all travel back home together.
I won't get an Uber until you get yours.
And everybody messages each other after the night out to ensure that we all got home.
Text me when you get home. Like,
if someone gave you a drink, I'm like zoom, laser focus on this drink.
Even just going to the bathroom, girls go in packs.
When you go to the toilet, go with someone.
And it's not just like, oh, it's fun to go to the toilet together. It's like, it's kind of like a safety thing.
And sometimes boys make fun of this, like, oh, why can't girls go alone? No, you don't understand, because you not have to be in a situation where you feel like being alone on a night out could potentially be the last time you lived.
When a group of guys come past, I guess, I've just pretended to be on the phone. So they think someone knows where she is.
I feel like as a girl, we've just been brought up to like never say never.
Which not everyone has to think about, but because, you know, I felt like I have to do more. I have more to worry about on a night out than a guy would.
It's always taught to us, girls, do this, do that, make sure you do this, make sure you don't do that. Why are we the ones that have to take the precautions when the effectors of the issue, the men, get away with it, always?
When I've been out with boys, they sort of don't worry too much, but because girls have probably been through it before or they've got that fear, it's very sort of protective and like maternal, which is nice.
So my friends were like the biggest support system for me. The first time I left my house after it happened was to go into town to meet my friend for lunch, and I nearly broke down on the bus. Like I nearly had a panic attack. And considering like a week later I came to a different city, I felt so at ease just knowing that on the other side of the journey was like such a massive like comfort. And like that hug was so, that hug like when I saw her, it was just so relieving. And like we went out and like we just did nice things, like we went for brunch and like she just really made me laugh. And we went and got coffee together. It was just so silly. But I don't know what I would do without her. This is so silly. So sorry. But that really helped me. Majorly. That really, really helped. Just to come see her for a couple of hours. Yeah, that really, really like helped me an insane amount.
It's weird though that like a thing that brings us all together kind of is the fear of that happening, and like we've all got each other's backs. I feel like
girls stick together a lot, but it's what we've been drilled in our heads to have to do.
Girls always have each other's backs on like, and I like even if you don't know who they are, like.
I think if I didn't have that like support like mechanism around me, it would have been very different, and I would really struggle now. But I'm like really reassured when I go out with my friends that I'm gonna be as best as I can, like be fine in that situation.
Because I think that is genuinely something that all, or definitely most, like 99% of girls will have gone through.
I remember when the percentage came out that was 97% of women had been sexually assaulted or harassed. And then a lot of men on the internet were like, oh, well, I would know someone if it was 97% of women. And the likelihood is you definitely do. Like, I don't know anyone who hasn't got a story to tell.
When I got spiked, it was my 18th birthday.
You were spiked at a Christmas
I'd had a family party.
When I was in first year as well, I was walking back to my accommodation and I had an experience with a man following me to my flat.
I was on a night out and then everything kind of went black.
And he actually put his hand on the back of my head and like forced me. And, you know, I kind of froze in that moment.
Getting quite limp, I couldn't stand up straight.
And he basically groped me and ran out of the building, so I think after that
I couldn't really string a sentence together.
I couldn't breathe because I just kept throwing up like out of my nose and mouth and everything.
And you could see on CCTV the man slipping something into the teapot cocktail.
So I was really scared, I was crying, I didn't know what to do.
You're just trying to dance and you've literally got in your head, okay, don't get raped, don't get murdered.
I got spiked.
When I get in the Ubers, I always need like a strand of hair. Clinch you and don't leave you alone.
From the age of about 7, I have early memories of my aunts telling me things like, oh, you've got your uncle coming round, like put on more appropriate clothing.
It's hard to speak about it, definitely.
The room started to spin. People know where I am, staggering through the crowd.
I didn't leave my fucking house for 3 weeks.
At the time I just knew that I had been spiked and I would
get my keys in between my knuckles.
You could have a needle in your hand right now.
Oh, when you talk about it, it gives you like goosebumps. Like, I'm shaking.
I felt like I was going to die.